Lucky Boys Podcast.
I mean, you see it in some of the streaming sites where it's like, oh, here's everything on here's black films, here's Asian films,
Yeah.
or API films.
Exactly. And you know, for us through this journey, we see through the bullshit, because 5 years ago, studios still didn't like our movie the way it was shaped, right? Like we were still pitching, you know, like and all of a sudden now representation.
Oh, now you guys are sexy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we get the emails. We check the names. We remember who said what.
Ooh, petty.
You know what I
I
mean?
don't. I don't remember.
I'm
anything.
taking notes.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
why you have
taking
the
notes.
producer here.
Because
Yeah.
I'm the dude who was on the road talking with everyone, pitching, and I remember what they say. Yeah. And that's the thing.
People remember how you make them feel.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that like I want to flip, you know, turn the table. Not flip, well, I kind of want to flip the table,
turn
but
it.
like
Flip and turn it.
Yeah, flip and turn, you know, like, but I want to turn the tables where in the future sometime in my career where I'm just like, you know what? I want someone to pitch to me that same project, right? And open other opportunities for others. So representation is not just at the audience level. Hey, you know, go buy my shirt and, you know, like I'll support your film. It's like, hey, I will one day be that studio. One day we will have the studios. One day, you know, like it's kind of like Tyler Perry, right? Like he turned the tables.
Oh,
he's
yeah,
like,
he did.
He's like, I control the table. That's my table now, right? And I think, you know, at the, you know, our Asian American level is just like, I want a table.
Yeah.
And I will welcome whoever has a good story.
Right.
Regardless, come to the table and let's talk. Let's get you some reps, you know, like that's really what the goal is.
Yeah, I think it's a feedback loop with the audience, because as the more, I think maybe the audience has been in this kind of traumatized mode, and we're always looking for, we've been screwed over by whitewashing for so many years that we're always looking for at least something to get it right. Example being like, you know, did the portrayal of the Asians, is it honest? Are we not gangsters? Are we not, like, we're looking for, to me, that's kind of like looking for portrayal that doesn't make us look bad, but we're not looking for actual human three-dimensional portrayals. As long as you didn't, you know, screw it up, like, we're okay with that. But you know, we want to push it forward. I think like what you're saying, to not see the Asianness of the film, I think is intentional, because we want to move forward, and we're not trying to tick the boxes and try to get the representation, you know, checklist right for everybody, because everybody's, you know, like that. So case in point, there's you know, the scene where our characters are wearing shoes in the house, right? And if you're coming from a place like being screwed over by representation, you're going to be like, oh, that's not authentic. That's not an authentic portrayal. But we're trying to move the ball forward and saying, like, I'm trying to tell you a story.
Right.
These characters are exactly the ones type of Asians who would wear shoes in the house. So now take that as a story point and let's move that forward. So I think we're still in that inflection point where people are still kind of caught up of just like representation as a check mark versus like a story. What's the story being told to us? Because at least trust that you're in good hands with filmmakers that have your perspective, and just let's see where that goes.
Yeah,
but
we look at us here.
that.
We all still have our shoes on. We don't
Hey,
need to take it off.
look at us. I don't care. We're in a kung fu school with shoes on. Can you believe that?
That's right.
Yeah.
Blasphemy.
Exactly. But it's a tricky thing. I think it's just trying to get the audience to come along, but also as filmmakers to be more free with your choices, not feel like that rep sweats thing, you know, that whole, it's like the other side of the imposter syndrome is rep sweats, is that if you're the dude, you're the girl that's up there on the spotlight with that microphone, everyone's expecting you to say the right things, do the right things, speak the right things.
That's such a tough burden to carry.
Yeah.
And that's, I can't imagine that's a happy place to be creative.
No, I mean, like we kind of went through it where it was, you know, I mean, you already know it's the 10-year journey, but like even for the Asian American community even pushed back at us where they're just like, another kung fu movie? Like, why kung fu? You know, like, you know, that stereotype. And we're just like, no, we want to tell the story that there are Asian Americans who should embrace what they grew up with, right? Like, you know, we all went to martial arts. Yeah. Martial arts is no different from, you know, kids having soccer practice.
Piano.
I love that you said that. Thank you.
Know what I mean?
I love that you said that.
We're normalizing something that was taken away from us, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Because
like, why is it okay for this kid to do boxing, this kid to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and then when you hear an Asian kid doing kung fu or martial arts, they're like immediately ashamed of that.
Yeah.
You know, or somewhat taboo. Oh, I'm fitting a stereotype. Like, it's like they made us ashamed of who we are.
Yep.
Yeah, and we wanted to change that narrative because, like, you know, it's reaching people now. Like we read all the comments that, you know, like, hey, I grew up just like that. You know, I went to kung fu, you know, after school. I have my seafood, and we're kind of like revealing this story that's never told, where it's like Asian Americans, not even just Asian Americans, it's like a lot of just Americans, like people in general who have a relationship with their sifu or their martial arts teacher that, you know, it really touched, you know, a chord, you know, it hit a chord with them. Yeah. And so those are some of the things that we wanted to bring out with this, you know, like we're not this monolith that is going to represent all.
Right.
Asians, like when you say Asian, I mean, you're going to be talking about, you know, mainland, like even just saying Chinese. Mm-hmm. Holy shit, there's so many like
different dialects within and cultures within,
and there's politics involved and all this stuff. And, you know, same, you know, with Vietnamese, like when you say Vietnam, is it Vietnam or is it Vietnamese American, which side, you know, like all this stuff. And so for us, it's just more of, this is multicultural, but everyone's under one roof. What happens, you know? By
the way, Vietnam is one of my favorite countries I've ever visited.
Yeah.
Have you guys? I mean, you did a film there, but
I've never been back.
Oh, that's amazing. I was. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
But on top of that, even in like not just in Asian America, you have Black Americans. Like martial arts was taught like this movie's set in Seattle, but like when Bruce Lee came to Seattle, he opened his first kung fu school there and taught non-Chinese, Black Americans, Mexican Americans, Filipino. Like he taught all types of races, you know, to the chagrin of his elders. But that's also the reflection of the story that we're trying to tell, is also the multiculturalness of Kung Fu, of multiculturalness of brotherhood, family. It extends beyond all those things. So again, just that common love, bringing together different people from different races. And what's that story?
Right. So, and I think when we come together, it's just so beautiful. You see it in sports. You get examples of it when it's just a melting pot. It's just so beautiful. There's just something about it that just... when I see it in a film and it works, and it's just, I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's what I can relate to, because I mean, I grew up in New York City, so I mean, I had friends from all over the place, and I never really, it gets to a point, if you're in New York City, you don't think like, oh, that's my Jewish friend, oh, that's my Black friend. You just go, that's my friend, and it's just normal, and we all have very similar parallel issues and things that make us happy, and sports and music and taste and food. And then when you go see a film, you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is not how I interact with my friends at all. Like, we interact as normal people. The way I interact with you guys is how I interact with my other friends who aren't Asian. So it's just, when they try to make us do some extra things, sometimes it's getting to a point where it feels stale. It's just a stale narrative that's, I think people are starting to move in a direction where they're starting to see that too. And I think it's showing with a lot of the mainstream, from you get news channels to films, where people are just not interested anymore. Where the investors, and you guys can probably speak more to this, are afraid to invest in a lot of these films unless it's a sure thing, like a Marvel film, or like a part 2 of a part 1 that was successful.
Sequel. Yeah. And you're seeing it across the whole landscape, even in music and movies, that we can't go back to business as usual, or as it was done before, where you have kind of like a majority or a very monolithically white stories or white music or anything. It's like that shift is already changing. Whether the studios or the ones with big money kind of get it or not, that's still up to debate. But the audience is looking and hungry.
They're holding on.
They're holding on.
They're not letting that power go.
They're white knuckling that. Let's put it that way. But exactly. The audience is hungry. And if they're not getting it from Hollywood or from the mainstream, they're looking for elsewhere. And you see that, and that even crossover appeal of anime and K-pop or K-drama or anything like that. Right. It goes beyond just Asians watching it. Like, everyone's into it now. So you see the nexus of entertainment shifting.